Hello and welcome everybody. It's January 2nd, 2024. Happy New Year. And we're delighted to be gathering with you again to talk about the Cosmic Tower. And this time Nico joins us from Thailand. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. So we're appreciative of his dedication to the project, and he's as chipper with me as ever. He's just such an even-keeled guy. And I'm so thankful to have a partner in this project like Nico. So Nico, thanks for being here. And traveling to Thailand, what have you learned about the Cosmic Tower on your trip? I know you learned something. You told me a little bit about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Because this is the first time in like a year and a half that I didn't take a cosmic tower with me. So it was a relatively short trip, and I'd taken two of them over to Egypt, and we were flying to Phuket, and we were using like how do you call it, like low budget airlines with a lot of baggage restrictions. I was like, you know what? I'm just not gonna bring the tower this time, but I kind of regret it, I have to say. Um, and that's also part of why I did it, because I've been with the Cosmic Tower for a year and a half now, and oftentimes it's not until you're like away from it or don't bring it with you that you really notice the difference. And like Thailand here, like Phuket is beautiful, but it's also getting pretty crowded, and there is 5G, and there's, a lot of cell phone towers, etc. And I must say that I really noticed the difference. Got sick on the way here, and I'm not saying that that's directly related to not having the tower, but I can notice in general that yeah, you don't have the same support. And then also being in hotel rooms or in different places, I was like, oh shoot, I gotta clear this room, and like there's a lot of chatter going on in here energetically, and I gotta clear the room and all those things, that because I have other tools with me, but all those things you take for granted, and you don't even think about that, became really apparent. So I'll tough it out for a few more days. I mean, it's beautiful here, don't get me wrong, but I'll be really happy to be back with the Cosmic Towers when we return to Egypt here soon.
Yeah, right on. So will you ever travel without a Cosmic Tower again?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I heard from Nico the other day that we wanted to share with you guys. I went through something that's I think pretty relevant to this as I was developing knowledge about structured water, because I was very much doubtful and wanted to be shown. I didn't want to like believe in it. I just wanted data, show me evidence. And so one of the things that I would do is I developed a practice I called 3 days on, 3 days off. And that was as I was sorting through a lot of types of water. I would treat water with maybe a filter and a structuring device, or straight out of the tap, or just with a filter, or just with a structuring device out of the tap. And I'd just do different behaviors for 3 days, and then I'd switch to the other one. And you think at the beginning, like, oh, I have no idea, like this is going to take me a month to figure out, or maybe I'll never figure it out. And it's like very quickly the body's like, I want that. And it helped to cultivate a greater inner sense of knowing. So being with and without the towers is kind of a really beautiful thing. I just took a 30-day trip across the mainland. I went to about 5 or 6 states, and I had a mini with me the whole time. And at various stages, I had a 220 with me. And one of the exciting developments that we're thrilled to share with you guys is there was a 220 that was placed in Sedona, and it was placed by us without a purchaser. We placed it with our friend Susie at the Creation Temple, and she did a really awesome job stewarding it for the last most of the year. And now she's moving. And so that tower needed a permanent home. And so as I was on my way into Sedona, I reached out to Dr. Ed Group, which I'm sure many of you know. He's got the you can guys can try and mute yourselves. I can manage it. It just kind of distracts the conversation a little bit if I do it. But I think I got everybody again now. So and so I reached out to Dr. Group. He's got a manufacturing facility in Phoenix. And I said, we'd be willing to put the tower the 220 with you on consignment. And he's like, oh, I love that. And so I picked it up in Sedona and drove it down to Phoenix. And then the next day, his business manager contacted me and said, we don't want it on consignment. How do we pay? And so Ed Group now owns a 220 and it's permanently situated in Phoenix, which is a big deal. And he's going to interview Nico this month. And that is probably going to expose the towers to a large enough audience that it will probably sell out all of the towers that are in North America. And right now we don't have a promise of more inventory. So, you know, we want to tell our community first. It's like, it's not a scare thing or anything like that. We just want you to know if you want to get situated with the right tower for your life, and you're not sure what that is, and you're going to start with a smaller one and you think you're going to add a bigger one later, wherever you are in that, just move your decision making along, like make your choices so that you get to choose while there's full choices available. The other thing is we had a 220 tower that we announced on a previous call was needing to be rehomed from the Austin area. And my first project of the new year, starting about 2 hours ago, was to figure out how that thing was going to move. And 4 minutes after I placed an order with this logistics company, they assigned a driver and it's already been picked up and it's on its way to Northern Texas as we speak. So that one, those two of the 3 large towers that we had that needed to be rehomed are rehomed. And then there's one more in Asheville, North Carolina. It's new in the crate. It's never been uncrated. We just, when we were delivering the original large towers to that area, we took an extra one. And so that one is up to hopefully be relocated locally, because it's a lot easier to manage the logistics of relocating them locally. But if somebody knows somebody within about 250 miles of Asheville, we'd love to get that one rehomed. So anyway, back out of that story and inside of traveling, you know, what I noticed going through Phoenix was it's I would say become inhabitable for human beings. It's concrete and electricity everywhere. There is no nature. There's no life. And I witnessed the stress on people and the way people are just kind of breaking down. And I was so thankful that I had my Mini with me and that I could hold it together, and that I was in the field of the 250 the whole time. And that, I think, helped me hold it together too. I think also going for hikes in Sedona while I was passing through helped me hold it together. And, you know, knowing that I was under additional stress, making good choices about sleep and food as much as I could. But there's no too much harmony, right? And so what we're learning in our experiments of 3 days on, 3 days off, and, you know, Nico taking a trip to Thailand and listening to the community, is once you become attuned to living in a harmonic energy field, it just doesn't feel right to go back. Like, humans are supposed to live in a natural environment. Nico, is there anything else on this topic or from your trip to Thailand that you want to share before I move into the next question?
Yeah, no, I didn't even bring a Mini. I gifted it to somebody in Egypt that needed it more than I did, and he loved my cosmic tower, Farag, and he kept asking me, and I was like, you know what, you can have my Mini, and I gave it to him, and so I did have a Mini with me. But again, I'm not making that mistake again. Like, I'll always have a tower with me.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And you guys, the future of the project is unknown. Like, we would like to continue. We would like to potentially manufacture towers in the United States. We would like to continue to source them from Germany. We're all in, and we're trusting God is going to reveal the way. So we'll just see whether there are towers to gift to people in the future. You know, I know I, for one, have now secured a 220 in my living space, and my living space is temporary, and I'm going to have to move it. And I'm just aligned with that. I'm going to manage those logistics because it's too important to me to make sure that I have this kind of harmony around me. Okay, Nico, let's see. This one's got a little bit of extra with it, but I'll just read it what the client sent in and we'll go from there. So I'm inquiring about the Cosmic Tower. I've heard incredible things from the quantum biology collective community, Carrie B. Wellness and Sarah Kleiner. I'm interested in getting the 35, but want to know if that still safeguards me from non-native EMFs, notably my neighbor's Wi-Fi routers above my bedroom and 5G in general, given that I live in a busy city, Miami, Florida. In addition, I'm curious if it will assist me in connecting with higher dimensions, or if the 75 is truly the more powerful one for that. I'm fascinated by the product and very excited to get one. It would be ideal if I get to be in the presence of one to experience it before purchasing, but I do not know of anyone locally here who has one. I'm planning to have the 35 be in my 2-bedroom apartment for myself, and I would most likely travel with it too if it is safe to take through TSA. Thanks so much. Looking forward to hearing back from you soon. Nico, I'll grab the TSA one because Nico's like TSA pre-check and he's like well prepared and he's super smart and he does all that really well. And I don't know what's gotten into me this year, but I'm just like the biggest idiot when it comes to getting on planes. And so my tower has been, my Mini has been pulled out of my bag and handled in multiple airports, along with Aqua Energizers, along with a bean bag with a heart on it that they seem to have a particular affinity for, and they want to check out and make sure it's not a bomb. And I literally had like 6 items pulled my last time through security. So security does not care about Aqua Energizers. They do not care about mini towers. They don't have a question about how much liquid is in it. They just look at it and they're like, wow, that's like wood and glass. And here, let me give that back to you and move on with your day. So no issues with TSA. And then I haven't taken a 35 through because I've always checked it and put it in a check
You
bag and
have to.
you have to. So I recommend, we recommend like a hard shelled suitcase to make sure. And I just take it and I put it in a sweatshirt and just wrap it up and put it in the middle of the bag and no issues. Yeah, these things are really durable. You know, finally, after shipping hundreds of them, we've had one get damaged in all this time. And so they're really durable. And you know, if you're traveling around in a bag or whatever, super easy. Okay, Nico, I just distracted you from the question. So the first part was non-native EMFs, my neighbor's Wi-Fi in general, and kind of being in Miami and the intensity of that.
Yeah, so she was basically asking whether a 35 will protect her or whether she would need like a 75. And it all depends where you're at. We keep talking about this, right? It depends how much distortion, Wi-Fi, 5G, etc., is in within your immediate environment. You could look at every tower having a certain amount of energy, so it can, in a sense, push that field out to a certain range, depending on how much it encounters within that range. So yeah, Miami is as I can imagine, depending on where you live in Miami, there's a lot of interference there. So yeah, the 35 would, give you some, I'm not gonna say protection from non-native EMF. We're harmonizing, right? The EMF, but 75 is 6 times more powerful as a 35. So know that it's not a linear, right? That's about double the size, so it's about double the strength. It's actually a factor of 6. So definitely the 75, Harald would always say, is the best protection you can get for your home, and if you can afford it. And I have to say it is a significant difference between the 35 and the 75. So yeah, the 35 will do the protection, but the 75 is just much more stronger. And then what else was the question?
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed that thumbs down showing up on my screen while you were talking,
Yeah.
but I have my thumb like this and yeah, now it's up, right? Zoom has started speaking for us guys. Like this is I don't like it at all. Like it feels to me like technology is telling me what my emotions and expressions or thoughts are, and they can, you know, they can really go far with that. So I'm just noticing it and observing it, and I'm sure you all are seeing it too. Sometimes balloons release and videos, and it's like, what is going on there? So anyway, thumbs up to you, Nico. And that's my real original thought without a computer telling me what I think. Um, she wants to know if she can be in the presence of one in Miami. We have a lot of large towers out there now, guys, but the closest one to there is Orlando. Are you aware of something in Miami? You look like you're gonna say something, Nico.
No, we have a 250 in Orlando, and I think a 75 in Key Largo. But for anybody that's new and really you would like to experience a cosmic tower, you can always send us an email. We can see if there's somebody, you know, within the vicinity that you could go and visit if you wanted to experience a large tower. We have a lot of people that, you know, are open to having people in their homes if they want to have an experience.
It's kind of fun too, right? Like the last 4 years, I made it my life to drive 60,000 miles across the mainland. Like I went everywhere, and I met people who are interested in this kind of dialogue about harmonic energy. And I feel like the luckiest one out of all of us because I get to meet so many of you in person, and I would love to facilitate you meeting each other. So if you send your address and what you're interested in, if there's somebody nearby, I will definitely go out of my way to facilitate because I know how much fun it is. So then did you touch on the higher dimensions part of the 75, Nico?
No, I didn't. There was a lot in that question. Thank you
Yeah.
for the reminder. So yeah, naturally, the towers will assist with that part. So the smaller towers, the 75 and the 35, are in a sense more personal, while the 220s are taking care of much more of the heavy lifting, right? And so yeah, either one of those will facilitate you to do that, but also remember that as a multidimensional being, you're naturally already connected like to those realms. And what it actually does, it creates a harmonious environment to where for you it's easier to access what is already there. Right? It's the cosmic tower is really creating that environment for you to just discover what's been right under our nose all this time, right?
Awesome. I think that got us through that big question. So let's go to the chat. I'm gonna start at the top and then catch up for a sec. So I have a tarot wand that recommends I blow into water for a minute before using. Tarot wand's that electric one, right? That's about this long. Have you seen one, Nico?
I've not seen that one. I've seen another types that use crystals, I think. Yeah.
Okay. I'm assuming the cosmic tower would already have optimally restructured water and that this wouldn't be necessary. What do you think? I want to comment on that for a second. As somebody who's immersed in structured water for a long time, if it's not easy and fun, I'm not doing it. Like I want it to be, I want to open my faucet and have the water be structured, or use a portable because I'm traveling and have my water be structured. And I want it to flow through at a really reasonable rate and fill up my gallon and then use a gallon to dispense into other glass containers. And at times I've had crystal containers and stuff like that. The crystal containers, when I was doing that, it like opened up beauty in my life. Like my whole life had a new layer of the energetics of beauty as I was carrying those VitaJewel bottles around. And then it became not fun. Like I didn't like washing the gasket. Like I like to wash my bottle. I've had the same, I have one of the same bottle since 2008. If you guys can mute yourselves, it's very much appreciated. Yeah, so I like it to be practical and easy. So if blowing on your water gives you joy and it's fun, like go for it. Like the point is to be in a playful, joyous state and to communicate that love. As far as the tower, optimally restructuring water, we just had a really great interview that Nico did with the biohacker Thiers, and Theo's been a friend of the Wellness Enterprise for a long time. And part of the way we got to be friends is he just buys everything we sell. Makes it kind of easy. Like you definitely get my attention if you just keep showing up and saying, how's this one working? Can I get one of those? But he's gotten a lot of structuring products, and his whole life is dedicated to just like figuring it out, like what makes better. And so he had some water sitting out, right, Nico? Sitting out in a space with a cosmic tower. And he had a friend come over and they were like, what's with this water? It's like so soft and feels amazing. And they discovered it was just from sitting in the field of the cosmic tower. So we are learning that the cosmic tower is a profound structuring device. And I didn't want to say anything about this 6 months ago. I wanted to be very careful, just like I was when I was coming on. And Nico's smiling because he watched me resist it. I'm like, no, I don't want to have that conversation. And it's like, I wasn't ready. And it's just like when the structuring devices came on, I was drinking Kangen water. I was drinking alkaline water. And I thought I had found like, the cat's meow is like the greatest thing. And it was good for a little slice. Like Kangen's got a purpose. But structured water is God's water. It's nature's water. It's our creator's water. And you can't put too much harmony in that, guys. So pray over your water, blow in your water, put crystals in your water, use a cosmic tower on your water, use an aqua energizer on your water, whatever lights you up and has you get to the feeling that you're at where the water is soft and feels great. So truth be told, the property that I've landed on Maui, without an aqua energizer and without a cosmic tower, the water is as soft and structured as anything I've ever experienced. So yeah, I have an aqua energizer right here, but I don't actually use it all the time because I'm getting water from 400 feet deep well in the ground where there's no industry and no agricultural pollution. It's just the purest water on earth coming straight out of the earth. That's what we're after. Like if man hadn't made all these technologies to screw everything up, that's what we'd be living in. So everything you do to move yourself back to that, go for it. Nico, I kind of covered a lot there. Do you want to throw anything in on that one?
No, I think that's a good answer. And I want to, Andy, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but she asked with the 75, would I just put the water near the tower? So yeah, so once the 75 has its field, any water that passes through that field gets structured, like from your shower or when you open the faucet. And what Theo was talking about, he has this elaborate system of filters and water restructures and doing everything. And then he just had water sit out there for a while on his counter, and he couldn't believe the difference because he's like me. He plays with all these tools too. And I still like structure my water. I like doing it. I'm playful like that, and I get joy out of doing it and putting my love into it. But I do find it really nice that sometimes we're in a rush or we don't have the time or whatever, just to know that it's always structured and it's good for you and it's harmonized. That's just nice to know that. And I agree with Patter. Like if you don't really like doing it, you can learn all these things to do it yourself with just your conscious, but are you going to consistently do it? That's what matters, right? We all have a lot of different things we need to do. So having that taken care of, I find it very comforting.
Yeah, going all the way with this, like I think with the end game is that we remember our power to structure our whole environment ourselves. Like that's my hope and dream. And there's actually somebody on this call who came to a workshop at my house about 7 years ago, and we spent the weekend learning how to structure water with our prayers and intentions and words and whatnot. And there were 10 of us, and we all felt at the end of that weekend that we had learned how to structure water. And a week later, I talked to a number of the participants. I was like, so are you doing it? And they're like, nope. Every one of us, including me. Nope, we're not doing it. Why aren't we doing it? Because it's a lot of work. It's like it takes a lot of focus and intention. So I think we can make a difference structuring our water with putting love on the side of our bottle or just being mindful and prayerful. And I think that all matters. And there are greater intensities and supports that can be cultivated using these tools. And I'm personally finding it very helpful to develop what seems to be an increasingly ever deepening aspect of self that I just gain more sensitivity the more I raise the vibration of these things. So I don't know, we're in a great big experiment together. So you do it your way. That's how I'm doing it. Hopefully it's good information and some inspiration for you. Nico, the Leela quantum devices are coming up. Does this work with the Leela quantum devices?
So we talk a lot about this. Does this device work with, does that device work with it? I mean, if it is beneficial, right? And Harald will always talk about a certain amount. The cosmic tower might even like amplify it, right? Because sometimes with certain devices that create scalar, let's say that they're electronically based, as a side effect, they might even create electrosmog. So imagine the cosmic tower taking care of that aspect. I don't know if the Leela quantum device same is as the Q block, as a quantum block. I don't know if it's the same device, but I'm pretty sure we have some people that have it together with the tower. I'm thinking about Ricky, I think, has one, and a 220.
There's definitely a couple of them around.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Maybe somebody on the call here even
Sure.
uses both of them together. I don't see
Yeah.
Richard up here, but yeah.
So Nico, you were recently interviewed by Carrie B. Wellness, Carrie Bennett, and Sarah Kleiner. What did you learn?
Well, I was really happy with the interview because a lot of the things that they brought up, these are the same things that have come into my awareness in the last few years, and definitely being a part of this project, which is like one of them. If you look at the whole EMF, the non-native EMF question, humanity has kind of made its choice in a way. We're going to use these electromagnetic um, waves to share all the data and to share information. So it's not like we're going to be able to stop the rollout of that technology, right? The 5G, etc. But the real question is, can we harmonize it? So it's no longer this conversation about blocking out and isolating ourselves from, but rather than doing that, we want to harmonize to where they don't have the detrimental effects on our body and on our environment. And yeah, I thought the interview was really nice, and I was really impressed just with the depth and Carrie knowing about the biogeometry and being aware of that, because I feel these subtle realms, this physics of quality, that's really where the future is. We had the whole the quantizing of and the counting how many molecules, but now we're actually heading into the area where we're fully acknowledging the subtle realms again that are underlying all of this that we're measuring in the electromagnetic spectrum. And we're also not taking the human being out of the equation. It's important the effect all these technologies have on us. And if you actually look at science in the past, we always wanted to take the human out to keep it objective, right? But there's these things like EMF, non-native EMF, they have their effects, not only on our physical, but especially so on our mental and our emotional layers. And I really loved it to see that there's other people that also have this same truly holistic mindset and say we have to, work on all the levels. And when it comes to creating change in the physical level, the more subtle you go, the more powerful your changes even are. So
Awesome. Stephanie says that she's sensitive to Wi-Fi, so she'll have to experience this. Stephanie, if you either message me privately or email support@thewellnessenterprise.com and let me know where you are, if it's important to you to experience it before making an investment, we can figure that out between, no matter where you are and the movements people make, we can figure something out. Shira, we're glad you got your video to work. We love seeing you too. Happy New Year. I'm glad you're here. Andia is asking, does the tower like to be in the same spot? So let's, we've got a bunch of new people today. So let's talk a little bit about, like, I don't put a tower on the floor, like I put it up at heart level, and things like that. So what do you think, Nico?
Yeah, like I moved the towers around quite a bit, especially the 35. But it's important to find a nice spot for it. And as you mentioned, like the big towers, like the 220s, they have their own pedestal. They sit on the floor. But when it comes to the smaller towers, they do not like to sit on the floor. So put them on a shelf like the 75 or the 35, so they're up from the floor. And Harald will always talk about how they would neutralize and how kind of the house dust that he would talk about would settle on the floor. And then for the smaller towers, it would be like kind of sitting in their own dirt, and they wouldn't like it. But also from my experience, because the cosmic towers are sentient, right? They like to be like a part of the family. They're not like this device that you stick in your closet and then you close it and you never look at it again. So they really want to be engaged and want to be engaged in your life. Definitely like the smaller towers that are much more personal. And we always tell people, like, you know, communicate with your tower, and also sometimes just sit with your tower. Just take 10-15 minutes and just be quiet and be with it, and be with its, you know, within its field, and make the connection with it. And oftentimes we might get a comment like, I'm not feeling my tower so much, or maybe it's not working as good as it's used to. And I'll ask the question, when's the last time you really, really connected with it? Well, it was when it arrived here, right? So the more you engage with it, and the more you make it a part of your experience, and the more you connect with it, the more powerful it becomes. Now, as far as like from a technical point of view, is it an issue if I have my tower here and now I move it around? Is it going to take a while for its field? Like, you don't have to worry about those types of things, if that's the question. Other than that, I really just like to have the tower be a part of my life with the 35. Sometimes I'll be doing something and I feel like taking my tower with me, and I'll just take her and we'll go sit outside. And I just love to hang out in the field and just have that communion with the tower.
And yeah, I would say most of all, be playful. You know,
Mhm.
we did a 3-part video series, guys. It's on the YouTube channel for the Wellness Enterprise, and it's called The Art of Playfulness. And for those of you who are new, if you really want to um, both get an exposure to the tower, but also as you're purchasing, receiving one, and it's being shipped to you, and you're like, how do I, you know, really step up into a relationship with this? The Art of Playfulness is exactly designed for that. And it was a very powerful series. Yeah, Andy, I'm glad you're working through those. When the third one came, like if you watch me during it, you'll see like I just kind of like faded under the energetics that Nico brought that day. It's just a little bit, it was like a lot for me to take in. And I've had it on my list to go back and watch it again since then. And I still like sitting in my memory, maybe tonight. I I'm really looking forward to going through that again. And you know, I invite everybody to continue to deepen their relationship with their towers and all of the towers, the whole network that we're creating together. And I don't think we can have too much of putting our focus on connecting with that energy and pulling it in. Are there any 2 towers in Minnesota, Wisconsin area? Yes, there's one in Illinois. That reaches up to Minneapolis. So it's kind of a circle there. And yeah. Um, um, Put it right here. Then okay, the next one, Nico, is what about the concept of distortions as carrier waves? So
Well, mhm.
I'm going to mute myself for a second while you start that.
Yeah, sure. As I was talking earlier, like we have now all of our information exchange for human beings all happens on these electromagnetic waves, right? 4G, 5G, and so on. And a lot of people are going against it and say we don't want any more of this. And um, I don't know. I don't think that the clock can be turned, can be turned back on this. So we have to look forward and say, like, okay, there's no way we're going to be able to eliminate. Humanity has kind of made that choice, but it's really detrimental. And if this continues, yeah, I mean, we're basically ruining our environment. So that's why, as far as the solutions, we have to look beyond just blocking things out, right? So there's two aspects, and we've talked about it on a few different calls, but it's good to repeat it again. If you look at non-native EMF, like a Wi-Fi router or a 5G, you have the electromagnetic spectrum, right? And the further you go from the source, the less your impact gets with those types of waves. They're basically the ones that can be shielded by a Faraday cage or cloth, right? Made from metal, like they have meshes. You can do that, but that's only one part. Then there's also the secondary waves. And the secondary waves are the compression waves. They are the scalar waves that travel. And those are not electromagnetic in nature. And they form a sort of smog that just keeps building up and up. Have you ever seen a boat go through a river? You have like the initial wave that's really strong, but then for minutes you have all these small waves that are still there. And now imagine thousands of those boats continuously going by. You're basically creating this field of this like smog of all these compression waves that go into resonance with each other. And that's what's really so detrimental to our body. It's much more subtle. It cannot be detected by electromagnetic meters, but that's the electrosmog that most people are very electrosensitive, that they're so sensitive to. So instead of saying like we're going to have to block or eliminate all electromagnetic waves, we can also harmonize them. And this is the work also from Ibrahim Karim, for example, with the biogeometry. That is the approach of harmonization. So we can really look at all those magnetic waves as carrier waves. And rather than eliminating the actual wave, we actually put information on top, or we harmonize them to where they're not detrimental to life. And that's the shift that we need to make. I mean, there's a lot more that can be done on the equipment side and all that, but that would need the cooperation, of course, from those companies, right? That can be done to harmonize it. That's why tools like the Cosmic Tower are so important, because we can harmonize these energies and actually use all of this as a carrier wave for health, rather than a carrier wave that takes away from our health and from our environment.
Yeah, and wouldn't you say this transfers over into the emotional domain too? It's like, I mean, how many traumas have you worked on just with me, from my history and my past? And all of these things that I've worked through, they all have gold at the end of them. And so I think the concept and the energetics of what you're speaking of apply to all of life. It's like when we can come into alignment where we're not blocking anything, then I think we're our most authentic, free-flowing self. And from there, it's much easier to have our life be a co-creative endeavor with the field. And God's miracles are so much better than anything Patter can think of. So I like when we can take a concept in one area and find a resonance of the principle in others. I don't know if you want to say anything about the emotional part. You're so good at that, Nico.
Well, I think the emotional and the mental part are really important. Like if when we talk about non-native EMF, a lot of people, rightfully so, are looking at the effects on the physical body. But oftentimes the emotional part is left out, and the mental part is left out of the equation, and they have such a detrimental impact. Like if you look at like in Hamburg, Switzerland, where 20 years ago, Ibrahim Karim was actually hired by Swiss Telecom to deal with the negative effects of a tower in a church there, and he was able to resolve that. A lot of the symptoms that the people had were just like, just no joy for life, right? Always being run down, being depressed, not being able to focus, and so on. So these are really, really, really important. And like with the solutions that he implemented over 20 years ago, 60% of those went away. And one of the things that the mayor of his town, he was not so much talking even about all the physical, they call them miracles back then, but what for him was important is that his town was alive again and people were communicating again, and there was a lot less hatred between people, and people were getting along again. So we really have to look at the impact of these technologies also on our mental and our emotional bodies. And I believe a lot of the reasons why people struggle so much these days is with the non-native EMF. It's like in some of our energy bodies, like mental and emotional, there's constant like sources of irritation that we might just not be aware of, but that are always there with living in this soup of EMF. So absolutely the mental and emotional are super important. Then we have to make that part of the equation.
Absolutely. Nico, are you aware of any protocol for interaction between the cosmic tower and the chakras specifically?
There's a resource. Well, the cosmic tower, you can ask it specifically, right, to help you with particular chakras or in general, right, to balance to balance your chakras out. But the way the tower also works is in alignment with your higher self. So we might be focused on one particular thing, and it might actually go through all your energy systems that say we should first start working on this, which much more underlying. Harald would always talk about a guy might have knee pain and say, help me with my knee, and then come back a month later and say, my knee is still not healed. So Harald would say, yeah, but maybe the cosmic tower found some underlying issues in your cardiovascular system that it could have given you a heart attack like 3 months on the road. So it went to work on that later, because nature, remember, it's always nature's principle. So nature has its own built-in intelligence of dealing with balancing what we want balanced, and it might not always be the same priority list as we might have in our heads.
Nico, I think we're far enough down the road that jokes are safe at this point. So, when I was just getting involved with the tower, I had, the equivalent of that sore knee, but it was my hip, right? And what did the tower do first? It got rid of my girlfriend, So, it's the different layers happen in different ways, and that was the layer that needed to go first. And it was like an extraction, it was really amazing as I chose the Cosmic Tower project. So we never know. It was a little sensitive at the time, but it's been more than a year, so we can have a little fun about it. All right, you got a dialogue going with one of our community members about a lake project. So tell us what's going on there.
Yeah, I see Mike's on the call. I don't know if Mike would
Oh,
want to jump in
oh yeah.
or share something.
Yeah, hey Mike, if you're, I know sometimes you're at work and you might have something else going on, but if you're available to pop on and tell us what you're
And
working on, we'd
I
love
also
to.
don't know if this is at a point where Mike wants to share about this yet, but basically Mike's done a lot of biogeometry, and I'm also, taking the biogeometry course. I'm really interested in it because it plays so well with the cosmic tower, and Mike has this great idea of cleaning the lakes and making the lakes power spots. And one day he wrote me about this. I was like, oh yeah, that's also something near to my heart, and let's see how we can work together there. And we've done a few tests on some lakes up in Massachusetts and had great results by using the cosmic tower in conjunction with some of the the biogeometry tools and resources. So yeah, probably more to talk about that pattern when that project gets more form. But in general, I would just like to say, like, hey, the Cosmic Towers is a tool for humanity to help us create a harmonious environment. So work with it. And I thought that was a great email from Mike asking if we wanted to do something around the lakes. And that's also what I envision for the future. Not that Cosmic Towers is just sitting in people's home and of course doing great work, but that there's actually an active engagement between humanity and the towers to where we're stewards of nature using these beautiful beings.
Thanks for being here, India. Brenda says she loves that and would definitely want to be part of that project, Nico. And Mike's got business stuff going on right now. He messaged me directly, so we'll get around to him when it aligns, which I'm sure it will. Okay, this next question we kind of already I knew it was coming, so I kind of bit on parts of it as we were going, but I'll just put it out there and then we can see what's unanswered. So the Cosmic Tower Mini is pretty small. I've heard that Nico likes it. I've not heard that Patrick carries it around. Well, now we've had an update on that. Please elaborate on what its capabilities are and provide more specific experience people have had with it. It is mainly used by people who are sensitive to EMFs. How close does it have to be to you to have a beneficial effect? What does it do when in range of a larger cosmic tower? Does it make a noticeable difference in the car? Basically, somebody just hungry for all details, elaboration, and experiences about the Cosmic Tower Mini.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I can tell you, I would love to have one right now in Thailand. I'm happy I gave it to the guy in Egypt, but right now it's like, oh man, just having the mini here would be really great. So the mini, just to simply explain, is it protects you while you're outside of the range of your bigger field. So the mini, like the bigger towers, does not like improve your field, but it's just to keep you stable while you're outside of the range of your bigger tower. So you're basically, your aura doesn't degrade and then you get back and it starts building up again. It's just to keep you at the same level as when you left the field of your bigger tower, so you can keep moving forward. It has a small range because remember, the range of a cosmic tower is determined by how much water is inside of it and how far the vessels are spread apart. So it's really just for one person to protect your personal field. So because of that, it's good to wear it as close to you as you can. Like you put it in your purse or you put it in your backpack, or maybe if you're at work, you can sit it on your desk, and then yeah, it will structure your water and stuff in that range, and it will protect you from non-native EMF, but it's not nearly going to be as powerful as a 35 or a 75. And that's why they're really made for that purpose, to carry on your person while you're outside of the range of a bigger tower.
Yeah, I
Was there
can.
another thing in that question pattern?
Yeah, we'll go back to it. I can add just a little bit more there. Like how does that translate into living your life with a mini? It makes me happy to have it. Like I like seeing it. I like looking over at it. It's like a friend or a dog or like, somebody beloved that I'm just happy that it's there. I'm happy that my life is immersed in such a way in harmony that I have this representation. So when I see it or when I think of it, I smile and I feel warm. And that's what we're talking about. Like keeping my aura and my energy field in a good way. Like it's there creating that harmony all the time. But it's also when it becomes tangible, it's an upliftment for me. And I enjoy that about it. Okay. how close does it have to be to you? Or what does it do when in range of a larger tower, or when out of a range of a larger tower?
Yeah, so you want to keep it as close to you as you can, right? Because it has a limiting range, and also that you have it standing up, right? I mean, it might be laying in your purse and might be horizontal, not like it's completely off, but it's just a lot less powerful, so it always works better when it's standing up. What does it do when it's in the range of a bigger one? You actually have to look at as the bigger ones to take a lot of the load off for the smaller ones. So um if you're within range of a bigger tower, that can really help your smaller tower to get a bigger and to get a stronger field. And that's like that for all the smaller towers. That's not just specifically to the mini. But I like that you brought that up, Pat, about how it makes you feel and all that. And that's a
Yeah.
really good point
I mean,
because that's really important.
isn't that the whole point of everything we do? It's like, if it doesn't make life better, then why are we involved with it? If it doesn't make
Mhm.
me more loving, more joyful, warmer, happier, more centered, more coherent, why would I be interested in it? It's all of what we do at the Wellness Enterprise is so that people have more life force energy, more wattage, more courage. Somebody called asking about the aqua energizers yesterday, and I really love the way the story came out of me. It comes out differently every time because it's not like it's rote. I just am present with the person. And what I said was, my dream in stewarding this company is that you get activated by nature and the elements that your creator has made you of, what you're constituted of, and you have the wattage and the energy to pierce through the bullshit that we're surrounded with all the time, and to feel a direct connection to your truthful creator, not to all of the distortions. And then in knowing that relationship, you have the courage to be who God created you to be. And each one of us is a little bit different piece of a huge jigsaw puzzle. I have it that jigsaw puzzle leads to love and joy and the full expression of humanity. And I want to play my role. And so if I can touch somebody and help them get more life force that's more coherent, then maybe at the end of the day, I feel like my life mattered, for like one little bit. So I love that aspect of what we do. And, I want to do it in every conversation and in every way. Um, it's really meaningful for me. Guys, we're down to the last prepared question. So if you have a question to ask live, this is a good time to raise your hand or put it in the chat. I see there's one that is in the chat. When I have the mini with me, will it have any effect with those around you, like a coffee date, if I have it with me, if I go meet with a friend?
Yeah, absolutely. And remember that, of course, your field's going to be different too. So how you're perceived by the other person is going to change. And then even though the mini's range is small, if somebody's sitting close to you, right? Yeah, absolutely, they feel that. And I remember having it sitting around and people being attracted to it. It's something I always like to do, to just have it out and see who notices and who asks. And it's like, what is that?
I think it
And
has, yeah, it
mhm,
has everything to do with each individual's sensitivity,
mhm.
because when you first put the cosmic tower in front of me, I didn't notice that much. But then when I put the cosmic tower in front of other people and I watched their reactions as they felt it through their body, I got more of what I felt through my own experience. So I tend to um, kind of crowdsource my opinions. It's part of why I think God's given me this role, because I get to watch all of you. And if I hear and witness and see your lives getting better through something, then I want to tell that story to other people. And I don't overweight my own personal experience of it. So, um, it's interesting the way we're all different and we all pick up information in different ways. Um, um, Thank you, Shira. You're sweet. Okay, so Do you know if scalar wave this is the last question, guys, unless anybody raises their hand. If scalar wave lasers are helpful or harmful to the body, they are used as a modality to reduce pain in joints, etc.
Yeah, so when we're talking about scalar waves, we're talking about a particular type of wave. And those waveforms can be detrimental or they can be beneficial for a life. You can create scalar weapons. It's not because something is a scalar wave that it is beneficial, right? So then it all depends on these particular scalar waves. How are they generated to create certain effects within the body? I have not investigated scalar lasers that much myself, but I think any healing technology that uses scalar waves can be very beneficial for the body, but you always have to look at the total of that healing device. Like if it's not using, like if it's using, like a cosmic tower uses natural elements, right? It uses water, crystals, etc. Anytime there's electricity and other things involved to generate scalar waves, we also have to look at the secondary waves to make sure we do not create electrosmog as a byproduct, or that there are no detrimental frequencies in there. But yeah, absolutely, I don't see why lasers that use scalar waves can be beneficial for certain purposes. And I think scalar waves in general is also part of the future of healing, because in a way everything in the subtle realm is made up of those of those types of waves. And what for me is important, it has always connected to life force, that we don't have technology that just purely operates in the electromagnetic spectrum and then maybe even in the scalar and some subtle realms, but that is disconnected from the source, from the life force. So I think with all future technologies, as humanity, we have to actually make sure that all of our technologies are connected to the living force, and so that we don't have detrimental effects on our environment.
Right on. Well, Nico, thank you again for getting up at 3 a.m. to be on this call with us. Really appreciate your dedication to the
Pleasure.
project. And yeah, you just showed up great today. And you guys, you're such a lovely community. Thank you for all of your engagement, your questions, your supportive comments, everything. It's such a pleasure to come together with you guys and to be building this network together. So thank you all for being here. We'll have another call next month. There'll be a replay of this posted. And yeah, everybody have a happy and wonderful new year.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.